What is up, guys? It's your boy here, and today, as you can see, we are on Black Ops 1 playing some Nuketown Domination. As you guys probably already know, Black Ops 1 recently became backwards compatible on the Xbox One from the Xbox 360, and it's already May, and considering that was supposed to happen back in like December, it's a good thing. So, bringing you guys a gameplay, and I just kind of want to talk about this game in general. I'm going to try to cover as much stuff as possible in this commentary. But this was actually my first Call of Duty that I had, like, when it first came out. Like, I got my Xbox 360 the October before this game came out. So I got Modern Warfare 2 at the very, very end of its life cycle, and then I got to play this game from its release all the way up until the next game came out, which was Modern Warfare 3. And so this game's got a huge nostalgia factor for me, and this one was one I was super pumped to see that it became backwards compatible, both for multiplayer, zombies, and even the campaign I thought was really cool as well. But what I want to talk about mostly in this commentary is the multiplayer, and kind of some of the stuff that was going through my head during this game, just kind of stuff that was coming back that I thought about the game, and just talking about like the guns, the maps, the perks, all the new features that it brought in, and just stuff like that in general. So starting off with some of the new features that came in this game, probably the biggest one that people talk about is COD points. So instead of unlocking, like, say, a perk or a gun as you level up and you can use it automatically when you hit a certain level, you also can use COD points to buy what you want from that category. Now, some things like weapons, I believe, are still locked by level. So, for example, I'm using the FAMAS right now, and I believe that gun was still locked until level 14. But then once you hit level 14, you could choose to spend your COD points to then equip the FAMAS. But in regard to something like perks, all the perks were unlocked for you all at once in feature, and then you got to select which perks you wanted from each perk 1, 2, and 3 category respectively. And it was the same way for kill streaks, I believe. And they also changed kill streaks in the regard that when you got a kill with, say, a napalm strike, which was a 5 kill streak, if you had the attack helicopter on, similar to the way that I do in this game, if I got 2 kills with my napalm strike, it did not count towards my attack helicopter. I still had to get 2 gun equipment, grenades, kills, something of that sort, to then earn my attack helicopter. It wasn't like it was in Modern Warfare 2, where I could use, say, a Predator missile at a 5 kill streak to then earn the Harrier strike at a 7 kill streak. And I think that was really good. And then all the kill streaks, I believe, at level 10 were unlocked. And then again, you could use your COD points to just choose which ones you want and unlock them. So if I hit level 10 and I have enough COD points to buy the SR-71 or the Blackbird at an 8 kill streak, which is a really awesome thing that was also introduced in this game, I can do that, and I don't have to wait until I'm, say, a really high level to get a kill streak that I really want to use against other players. Now, in addition to all that stuff that you can buy in the Creator class, there's also other things that they made use of the COD points with, and they also introduced the ability to create your own emblem, and you could buy certain designs and then add extra layers and create your own emblem and really add your own online personality into the game, which is really awesome. And then they also added the ability to, I believe, change the color of your lens, change the reticle on a red dot or a reflex sight in this game. They added so much additional customization in this game that it was absolutely awesome. It really felt like you were making the game your own, and you were like taking the experience and making it one that you were really going to enjoy for yourself as a player. And also in the game with the COD points, they also added in wager matches. Now these became super popular right away. And what wager matches were, there were 4 different game modes in a separate playlist. There were 1 in the chamber, sharpshooter, gun game, and sticks and stones. And what these games allowed you to do was to go into either a 10 COD point, 1,000 COD point, or 10,000 COD point lobby, and you'd take your COD points and risk them and say, hey, I think I'm going to finish out of 6 people in either first, second, or third place. And depending on how high you finished, you would earn so much more COD points in return. So if you finished in first, second, or third, you would gain additional COD points in addition to your 10,000, or 1,000, or 10, respectively. And if you finished in 4th, 5th, or 6th, then you didn't get anything and you lost all of your COD points. So it kind of added that bit of a risk factor and a gambling factor, and adding in that you think you were going to finish better among other players. Now, one last thing about COD points that I want to talk about, because it actually relates super well to what is happening in Black Ops 3 right now, is this game also added in contracts, which again has just recently been added in Black Ops 3. Now what this did was it allowed you to put some COD points on the line and say, hey, I think I can complete this challenge in a certain amount of in-game time to earn a reward. So there were simple ones from getting like 3 kills without dying or earn 2 kill streak rewards that did not cost many COD points to buy, but you also didn't get as much of a reward. And there were also ones that were worth COD points and XP, but were a little bit more difficult to complete, like say earning 3 attack dog rewards or something like that. These were really, really cool ways to put your COD points on the line to say, hey, I think I'm a good enough player that I can go in game against other alive opponents and complete a certain challenge in a certain amount of time. And they're also bringing that into Black Ops 3. They haven't added in at this time the daily and weekly challenges yet, but they also had the 75 win challenge for a weapon bribe and 10 rare supply drops, which I did complete. It was quite difficult and took a long time, but it was very, very worth it. And I think it's a really cool thing that they decided to bring back from their own game into their newer game. So transitioning a little bit, I just want to touch on the maps. I think the maps in this game, at least me personally, I had a very love-hate relationship with them. I either absolutely loved to play on the map, I voted for it all the time, or I just was like, ugh, I didn't really even want to see that map come up in the voting because I didn't want to play it. So there's obviously Nuketown, it's been remade twice. There's not too much more to say about this map. It's super popular, one of the most popular maps in Call of Duty history, one of the most recognized in Call of Duty history. Some of the other more known maps from this game, I would say definitely Summit and Firing Range because they got remade in Black Ops 2. And then some of my favorites were WMD, Grid, Jungle, and definitely Radiation. It was a map that I didn't really like that much when the game first came out, but then I really started to like it once I started playing Search and Destroy a bit after. And overall, I would say that this game had pretty good maps. Like I said, I kind of had a love-hate relationship with a lot of them, but I feel like the maps served this game very well given the time period that it was made in, and that it fit the scenery of the game really well and the types of things you came to expect from like the Vietnam War and everything like that. Now moving on to the perks and kill streaks, I will say that I think that games like Black Ops 3 have much better design for the perks and everything like that. I feel like having perks that are a bit more specified rather than a perk that's, say, like Sleight of Hand in this game, which allowed you to reload faster, and if you had the pro version, aim faster. I feel like that's almost kind of a crutch perk in a way. But just looking at some of the perks, so in Tier 1 we had Lightweight, Scavenger, Ghost, Flakjack, and a Hardline. And another perfect example of this is Ghost, is that if you had Ghost Pro, you were both, you wouldn't be detected on the UAVs, and you couldn't be detected by air support. Now, I think it's a much better way to do it like it is now, where you have that split up into Ghost and Blind Eye, and they're both in the perk 1 category. So it kind of makes you pick one or the other and to choose which one is more important to you. And I think, personally, that's a much better way to do it. In perk 2, we have Hardened, Scout, Steady Aim, Sleight of Hand, and Warlord. And I already touched on Sleight of Hand, but another big one for me was Warlord. I like the fact that you didn't have to have a certain perk to have more than one attachment on your gun. And again, this just kind of changed in the metagame as the games got newer and people decided to have more and more attachments on their guns, and they decided that that was something that they wanted. It started with the wild cards in Black Ops 2, but now it's even to the point in Black Ops 3 where you can have up to 6 attachments on one gun, which is absolutely insane to think about if you were playing this game where you can only have a max of 2. And then finishing up in perk 3, there's 2 perks I want to touch on here, but there's Marathon, Ninja, Second Chance, Hacker, and Tactical Mask. First of all, Ninja, when you had the pro version, the base version of the perk allowed you to move silently, but the pro version allowed you to then additionally hear enemies louder. And again, similar to the way that Ghost and Blind Eye are set up in newer games, I like that how this became to be split up like Dead Silence and Awareness. I think that's a much better way to do it, in my opinion. Moving on to the kill streaks, we have the Spy Plane or the UAV, and then the RCXD, which has made a return as the RCXD and the HCXD. Even though I don't really necessarily think that this was a fan favorite, it's just kind of been there in Black Ops 1, 2, and 3. And then we have the Counter Spy Plane or the Counter UAV, the SAM turret. This is one that I wish would come back because I think that this one doesn't get a lot of recognition for being as useful as it is. Basically, you would airdrop in a crate and you would get a SAM turret, and what the SAM turret does is you would place it on the map and it would automatically shoot at UAVs, counter UAVs, enemy helicopters, anything like that that could be shot down by a player with a rocket can be shot down by the SAM turret. I think this is super, super useful, and I don't know why necessarily it hasn't come back, but that's just something that I wish would make a return. The care package, the napalm strike, which is really awesome. You'll see some gameplay of that in both of these games on screen. The sentry gun, which is awesome. The mortar team, which became the lightning strike in Black Ops 2 and 3, really awesome. I think they did a really awesome job of making it better, because I think in this game, it being the mortar team, it came in kind of slow. So when you would look at the radar and call in the mortar team in the 3 different locations, by the time that the strikes actually hit, the players would probably be moved and not there anymore, so it wouldn't always get you a lot of kills. But like I said, I think they did a good job of refining it as the lightning strike. Then we have the attack helicopter, the Valkyrie rockets. These are really interesting. The idea behind these was really cool, but the execution was just kind of like not so great, and maybe it could have been a lower kill streak, but I don't necessarily think that is on an equal playing field as the attack helicopter. Now basically what the Valkyrie rockets did is you would airdrop in a care package, and you would look through this rocket and you would shoot it, and then you would control it kind of similar to the way you control the dart, and you could kamikaze it into stuff. And like I said, it's kind of a cool idea, but just the way that it works and the explosive radius and everything, it just wasn't necessarily good enough and rewarding enough to be a 7 kill streak in my opinion, but still a cool idea. And then we have the Blackbird, or the SR-71. I touched on this a bit earlier, but it's a really, really cool kill streak. It allows you to see enemy location and direction on the radar. This, I would say, is a fan favorite, definitely, because it's come back as the Orbital VSAT in Black Ops 2 and the Hater in Black Ops 3. I do wish that it was like it was in Black Ops 1 and 2, where it couldn't be shot down, but that's just my opinion. Then we have the Rolling Thunder, which has also made a return in Black Ops 3. I think this kill streak was done correctly in this game. I don't know necessarily why they changed it to the way that it is now, but it fit as the B-52 in this game. It was really, really cool. Then we have the Chopper Gunner at a 9 kill streak. This thing was absolutely awesome. It didn't work the exact same way that the Chopper Gunner did in Modern Warfare 2. Instead, it actually had you controlling the minigun as the helicopter took two laps around the map. And I think that this kill streak was super, super awesome. And then there was the Attack Dogs, which also came from World at War and made a return in Black Ops 2. And I think this is basically what the wraps are in Black Ops 3. And then there was the Gunship. This thing was really, really cool. It basically gave you a helicopter with a minigun and rockets, and it also gave you the ability to control the helicopter and where it went. This thing could be absolutely lethal on a map like Nuketown, where you could just hover over the enemy spawn and just rain down fire on them. Overall, the kill streaks in this game I think were good, but not necessarily as great as they could have been. There were a couple that needed a little bit of refinement, and I think the Treyarch did a really nice job in Black Ops 2 of adding in more kill streaks and adding in a variety of what those kill streaks can do. Now moving on into the meat and potatoes of your multiplayer experience, we have the guns. The guns in this game were very, very interesting. There were a lot of guns that were really, really good, and there were a lot of guns that just were not good at all. So I'm going to start with the assault rifles and work my way all through the specials. I'll give a few notes of what I think about each gun, but obviously this is just my opinion. You guys might think something differently. You have favorite guns, least favorite guns. Like I said, I'll talk a bit about my own, but feel free to judge for yourself. Just remember that this is an opinion, not like an ultimate guide to how this game works. But starting off, we have the M16, which is just like the good old classic assault rifle for Call of Duties, dating all the way back to COD 4. I think the M16 in this game was very, very good. It is a good 3-round burst assault rifle. Then we have the Enfield, which is a gun that doesn't necessarily get a lot of love, even though it wasn't that great, but it wasn't terrible either. It was just an aggressively mediocre assault rifle. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. Then we have the M14 single shot. This gun was really, really good if you had a good trigger finger and good accuracy, but I am not one of those people, and so this wasn't necessarily one of my favorite guns. Then we have the FAMAS, which is just, honestly, in my opinion, it was the best gun in the game. It was a very competitively viable gun. It was used for close range engagements because it has a high rate of fire, and it had the range of an assault rifle, obviously, so it was very, very good at all distances and ranges. And this gun has already been, well, it was remade into the FFAR in Black Ops 3, but I don't know why they didn't just call it the FAMAS, because it's literally the exact same thing, design, sound, everything. But then we have the Galil, which is one of my favorite guns in this entire game. Just the look, feel, sound of this gun is just tier 1 in my opinion. This gun is just awesome. I don't know what it was. The damage and everything was good on it, but I don't know why. This gun just was one of my favorites. And then moving on, we have the gun you see on screen right now, which is the AUG. This gun was also, it was an LMG in Modern Warfare 2, but it's also just another gun where, I don't know, just like, I don't know if it's the sound or the way it shoots or just, it's a really, really good gun in my opinion. I always liked it. Then we have the FNFAL, which is also another very, very competitively viable gun if you're accurate with it, similar to the M14. Then we have the classic AK-47, which I would say that the AK-47 in this game was my favorite of any Call of Duty that I've played personally. Then we have the Commando, which is also another very, very good assault rifle. And then we have the G11. Now, if you guys didn't play this game, or you might have forgotten that, as I mentioned earlier, with the guns in this game, you had to buy them with COD points, but if you bought every gun in a certain category, for example, the assault rifles, then you unlocked a classified gun at the end of each category. So if I bought every assault rifle from the M16 all the way through the Commando, which I just listed, then you unlock the G11, which is another 3-round burst assault rifle. This gun was absolutely incredible, and it didn't get necessarily a lot of attention because you had to go through and buy each gun before you could even have access to buy this gun. And so, like I said, it's a really, really good 3-round burst assault rifle, good versatility, good, not a lot of recoil, and very, very powerful. Moving on to the submachine guns, we have the MP5K, which is probably my favorite sub in this game just because it's got really good range, not a lot of recoil, and it can kill very, very quickly. We have the Scorpion, the Mac 11, and the Uzi, and the PM63. And the reason I listed those all together is just because they're all kind of meh, in my opinion. They don't have a very good clip size, maybe a fast fire rate, and so you run out of ammo really fast. Not a lot of killing power, in my opinion. Then we have the AK-74U, which was a super, super popular weapon. It had a good movement speed, a good rate of fire without it being too fast so you couldn't control the recoil. And it had a very good killing time, probably one of the better ones. And the same thing with the Spectre, that I think this was a competitive gun. I wasn't too tuned in with the competitive Call of Duty when I played this game, but I think this was probably my second favorite SMG behind the MP5K. I didn't really like the AK-74U all that much, but I really, really like the Spectre. And then the classified weapon in the submachine gun category was the Kaparis. This gun had a lot of recoil to it and not necessarily that much damage over range, and so I think this gun was a little bit weaker, but still a very viable gun. Moving on to the shotguns, and a little interesting fact is that this was the first game to offer shotguns as a primary rather than a secondary. The previous game, Modern Warfare 2, still had them as secondary, so like the SPAS 12 and the AA-12, shotguns like that were all secondaries, but this game was the first one to offer them as their own primary weapon. So the 4 shotguns we have are the Olympia, which is just a standard double-barrel shotgun over-under, and then we have Takeout Stakeout, which is a pump shotgun, very, very good gun for running and gunning. And then we have the semi-automatic SPAS 12, different from the SPAS 12 Modern Warfare 2 where it was a pump. This gun was a semi-automatic, like I said, very, very good gun. And then the classified weapon was the HS-10s, and the reason I say HS-10s is because you could actually buy the ability to dual wield these guns. And I remember going back and search and destroy and just going through and blasting people with these things. These things were so powerful. If you had both of them in close range, you would not win a close range gunfight against these things if you had somebody that could hit you. These things were absolutely awesome. So moving on, we have the LMGs, which we have the HK21, the RPK, and the M60. I think they're all very, very good. I don't have too much to say about these because I'm not really an LMG player. I'm an AR SMG kind of guy. That's just always the way I have been, but these guns are all very, very good in their own right. And then we have the Stoner 63, which was the classified weapon. Again, I don't necessarily have too much to say about these, but all the LMGs I think were good in their own situation. And then we have the sniper rifles, which we had the Dragunov, the WA2000, the L96A1, and then the classified PSG1. The one out of these sniper rifles that most people probably recognize is the L96A1, just your standard bolt action. It was the one that people tried to quote-unquote quickscope with, even though Treyarch made it incredibly difficult for snipers in this game. It was still a very, very viable weapon. And then moving on to the secondaries, we have the pistols, where we have the ASP, the M1 911, the Makarov, the Python, and then the classified CZ75. Hands down, my favorite pistol in this game was the Python, and you had to be very accurate with it, but if you were accurate with it, you could kill people from crazy distances if you hit them. And then the CZ75 was really cool because you can make it fully automatic, even though it would go through the ammo very, very quickly. But all the pistols in Treyarch games, I think, are always really viable. Like, for example, in Advanced Warfare, I don't remember ever seeing a pro player use a pistol as a backup, but then watching Black Ops 3, you see all these pro players who always have, like, the RK5 out in close range. Like, I always liked how in Treyarch games all the weapons were best in their own situation. Like, you couldn't necessarily get away with using an AR up close. You'd have to pull out your pistol and use it for close range, which is the point of having one anyway. Just a little bit of a side note there. But then for the launchers, we have the M72 Law, the RPG, the Strela, and the China Lake. Launchers, there's not too much to say about. The Law was a lock-on or free fire. The RPG was a free fire, the Strela was an anti-aircraft only, and the China Lake was kind of like a noob tube, but it was absolutely terrible. And then we have the ballistic knife and the crossbow, which most people recognize from Sticks and Stones. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. I pretty much gave my entire opinion on everything in this game in a matter of 20 minutes or so. Bit of a longer video, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in future videos. Peace out, guys.